In the quiet stretch of desert night, where the sands settle into soft waves and the wind carries the faintest whisper of forgotten centuries, the pyramids of Giza rise like immovable silhouettes beneath a blanket of stars. Their ancient stones hold the hush of millennia, and even now, as we imagine ourselves standing at their base, there's a sense of being watched by time itself. The air feels still, almost reverent, as though the world knows it has entered a place where history and mystery walk hand in hand. In this silence, a question begins to drift into the mind, gentle yet persistent. Did humans truly build these wonders alone, or did something else help guide their creation? For as long as people have laid eyes on these monumental structures, they have wondered how such precision and grandeur could emerge from a world so old, so unfamiliar, and so distant from our modern comforts. The contrast between what we know and what we wish we could know forms a delicate tension that keeps the mind quietly alert. On one side lies the firm ground of archaeology, filled with measured evidence and methodical explanations. On the other lies the soft shadow of the unknown, those small gaps in history where the imagination slips in, creating stories of visitors from distant stars, of forgotten knowledge, of hands that shaped stone with abilities beyond human reach. This documentary begins at the intersection of these two realms, welcoming you into a space where certainty and wonder gently intertwine. There is no rush here, no urgent need to arrive at an answer. Instead, we will move slowly, drifting like sand carried across the desert floor. We will explore what is known and what remains only speculation. We will consider the human spirit, brilliant, ambitious, flawed, and compare it with visions of beings from distant galaxies who, according to some, may have once touched the Earth. Between these possibilities stretches a long, quiet road of questions, each one waiting with patient curiosity. The pyramids themselves seem to invite such speculation. Their geometry appears too deliberate, too aligned with celestial pathways to be dismissed as simple architecture. Even their sheer scale encourages a kind of cosmic thinking. Tens of thousands of workers cutting, shaping, and lifting enormous stones with tools that would appear primitive today. How could such a feat be achieved? And why, after thousands of years, do these structures remain so precise, so mathematically aligned, while many other monuments of human history have crumbled back into the earth? These contrasts, endurance versus erosion, precision versus antiquity, feed the imagination, drawing us deeper into mystery. Yet, at the same time, the story of humanity is filled with examples of extraordinary achievements that once seemed impossible. From ancient navigators crossing oceans without maps to builders erecting temples carved directly into mountainsides, human innovation has repeatedly surprised us. Archaeologists argue that the pyramids are another example of this ingenuity. Complex, yes, but not beyond the reach of a determined civilization. And so, we find ourselves suspended between two worlds, the world of proven human capability and the world of unanswered questions that refuse to fade. Tonight, as we journey together through history and speculation, we will treat both sides of the mystery with gentle respect. This is not a debate, but a peaceful exploration of ideas that have captivated millions. We will listen to the archaeologists who dedicate their lives to uncovering truth in the dust. We will also listen to the dreamers, the believers in extraterrestrial guidance, who look at the pyramids and sense something more, something ancient, universal, perhaps even cosmic. As the stars rise higher in the Egyptian sky, forming constellations that generations once worshipped and studied, we begin to understand why this question, did aliens build the pyramids, refuses to disappear. It is not simply about stones stacked into perfect triangles. It is about the feeling that somewhere in the vastness of time, a connection might exist that we have not yet fully uncovered. It is about the tension between the warm, earthly touch of human hands and the cold, distant shimmer of galaxies beyond our reach. It is about the longing to know whether we are alone or whether someone else, long before us, left a mark on our world. In this calm exploration, we will travel through theories both grounded and speculative. We will drift through ancient texts, puzzling artifacts, and celestial alignments that mirror the heavens. Each chapter will guide us further into the labyrinth of history, slowly unraveling the whispers of the past. With every turn, we will examine how myths are born, how mysteries survive, and why the pyramids continue to stand not only as monuments of stone, but as monuments of human curiosity. As this first segment draws to a close, imagine once more that quiet desert night. The low hum of wind slipping between weathered blocks, the moon casting silver light on smooth limestone, the silence heavy and alive. Here, in this tranquil place, the journey begins. A journey where the known meets the unknown, where history mingles with possibility, and where each step invites you deeper into a mystery older than recorded time. Long before television documentaries, online debates, or late-night conversations around glowing screens, the idea that the pyramids might have been built with help from beyond our world began as a quiet whisper. It rose slowly, shaped by a mixture of wonder, misunderstanding, and the natural human tendency to fill the unknown with imagination. In the 19th century, when Western explorers first reached Egypt in large numbers, they were met with structures so grand, so precise, and so ancient that they struggled to reconcile what they saw with what they believed human beings of the distant past could accomplish. Many of these explorers arrived with limited archaeological knowledge and carried assumptions that ancient civilizations were far less advanced than they truly were. Standing before the Great Pyramid, with its immense weight and perfect geometry, some simply could not believe it was the work of ordinary human hands. These early travelers wrote journals filled with awe, describing the pyramids as beyond comprehension, monuments of impossible labor, and works of an intelligence unknown to man. Their writings, half observation, half speculation, circulated widely in Europe and America, planting the early seeds of mystical interpretation. While they had no evidence of alien involvement, their uncertainty allowed the imagination to expand freely. In a world still discovering electricity, steam power, and photography, ancient engineering seemed almost supernatural by comparison. The gap between the industrializing present and the distant past created fertile ground for mystery. As the 20th century approached, scientific fields were still developing, and archaeology was far from its modern form. Excavations lacked the precision, tools, and careful documentation that would later become essential. This left many questions unanswered, many details misunderstood, and many myths unchallenged. Into this space, alternative theories began to grow. Writers and philosophers, fascinated by the unknown, started proposing that the pyramids were relics of a forgotten wisdom, knowledge too advanced for early humans. Some imagined a missing technological link, a vanished civilization, or even teachers from the stars who guided humanity's early steps. Their ideas spread quietly, tucked into obscure books and speculative essays, waiting for their moment to flourish. That moment arrived in the mid-20th century, when a wave of global fascination with space exploration pushed people to look at ancient history through a cosmic lens. As rockets pierced the sky and telescopes revealed new galaxies, the universe suddenly felt larger, more alive, and full of possibility. If humans could finally reach space, some wondered, who was to say that another species hadn't done so long before us? It became easy to imagine extraterrestrial visitors touching down on Earth, sharing advanced knowledge with a young human civilization. The pyramids, with their scale and mathematical perfection, became the centerpiece of these speculations. Writers like Erich von Däniken popularized the idea of ancient astronauts in books that blended selective evidence with captivating storytelling. They pointed to carvings, myths, and architectural feats as clues that ancient people might have encountered beings from other worlds. Their arguments were rarely scientific, but they ignited the imagination of millions. Theories spread into magazines, radio programs, and eventually television documentaries that framed these mysteries in dramatic, compelling terms. The allure lay not in proof, but in possibility. People were enchanted by the idea that human history was more magical, more connected to the cosmos than textbooks suggested. Meanwhile, archaeology continued to progress. New discoveries provided clearer explanations for how Egyptians designed, organized, and constructed their monuments. Evidence of quarrying techniques, worker villages, tools, ramps, and administrative records grew steadily. Yet paradoxically, the more archaeology uncovered, the more alternative theories grew in popularity. It wasn't because evidence was lacking. It was because the human mind is drawn to wonder, drawn to stories that stretch beyond the limits of ordinary explanation. Every solved mystery seemed to reveal a new question. Every clear discovery left behind a shadow of the unknown. This contrast between scientific clarity and lingering mystery gave the alien theory a unique charm. It did not need to replace history. It simply filled the spaces where history felt incomplete. The pyramids' astonishing age, their celestial alignments, and their perfectly cut stones all seemed to whisper hints of something hidden. And the more people learned about the vastness of the universe, the more comfortable they became imagining life beyond Earth. If the cosmos held billions of stars, why couldn't one of them have reached us long ago? Throughout the late 20th century, the alien hypothesis grew not through academic debate, but through culture, books, films, and sensational TV programs that encouraged audiences to question the limits of ancient technology. Shows presented unanswered questions as mysteries pointing toward extraterrestrial involvement, often ignoring or minimizing conventional archaeological answers. This framing did not persuade scholars, but it captivated millions around the world who found beauty in imagining that humans were part of a much larger cosmic story. The idea persisted for emotional reasons as much as logical ones. Believing that advanced beings once visited Earth can feel comforting, even inspiring. It suggests that humanity is not alone. It implies that we were seen, perhaps even guided, by some greater intelligence. It turns ancient monuments into messages across time, connecting us to something far beyond our planet. These feelings help explain why, even as evidence grows, the alien origin theory refuses to fade. It remains a mythic bridge between what we know and what we dream. As we explore this delicate history of ideas, it becomes clear that the alien theory is not just about the pyramids themselves. It is about the people who looked at them and felt overwhelmed by wonder. It is about explorers who lacked archaeological knowledge but possessed boundless curiosity. It is about 20th century dreamers imagining a universe alive with visitors. And it is about the enduring human desire to find meaning in the monumental, to see purpose in structures that echo the heavens. This brings us gently to the next chapter of our journey, the story of the ancient Egyptians themselves, the real people whose hands shaped the stone. Before we look to the stars for answers, we must first look to the desert, to the river, to the civilization that flourished along the Nile. For in understanding their world, their skills, and their dreams, we may begin to see how the lines between possibility and mystery first became blurred. When we imagine the pyramids, it is easy to picture them as symbols of mystery rather than products of human hands. Yet behind every block of limestone, behind every measurement and alignment, there were people, living, breathing, striving individuals whose lives intertwined with the rhythm of the Nile. To understand the creation of these monuments, we must step gently into their world, letting the sands of time lift away the myths and reveal the civilization that stood at the center of it all. The ancient Egyptians were not a primitive society fumbling in darkness. They were an extraordinary culture shaped by order, observation, and an unshakable devotion to purpose. As the yearly floods of the Nile nourished the land, they also provided something more subtle: stability. Predictable seasons allowed for surplus food, and surplus food allowed people to specialize. While some cultures struggled just to survive, Egypt had the rare luxury of developing scholars, artisans, architects, and administrators. This structure created a society capable of planning on a scale few others could match. Human creativity flourished beside the river, forming the foundation for the monumental works that would one day rise from its banks. Contrary to old misconceptions, the pyramids were not built by slaves dragged in chains beneath the desert sun. Instead, evidence reveals that the workforce consisted of well-fed, well-housed laborers, skilled teams who operated with surprising organization. Entire villages were established for them, complete with bakeries, breweries, medical care, sleeping quarters, and administrators. These workers were proud of their contributions. Some even left behind humorous graffiti inside the pyramids, signing their work as one might sign a painting. Far from suffering under oppression, they were respected as essential participants in a project of national and spiritual importance. The Egyptians were masters of order and logistics. Their entire society functioned through carefully maintained records, lists of supplies, materials, labor shifts, and schedules. Scribes, trained from a young age, kept the flow of information steady and precise. With thousands of workers involved, such documentation was not a luxury, but a necessity. Teams were divided into groups with names, ranks, and responsibilities, creating a system that could manage the construction of something as massive as the Great Pyramid with remarkable efficiency. While a modern world tends to imagine ancient tools as crude and ineffective, the Egyptians developed sophisticated techniques suited perfectly to the materials available. Copper chisels, stone hammers, wooden sledges, and rope systems may seem simple today, yet they were applied with extraordinary skill. Quarrying teams carefully detached limestone blocks using grooves, wedges, and consistent leveraging. Once freed, the stones were transported on sledges pulled across the desert. Recent discoveries even show evidence that water was used to moisten the sand, reducing friction and easing the movement of massive loads. Geometry and astronomy played equally important roles. To the Egyptians, the sky was not separate from the earth. It was a map, a calendar, a reflection of divine order. Their priests and scholars observed the stars with diligent attention, tracking the heliacal rising of Sirius, the movement of Orion, and the shifting of the seasons. These observations helped them align their monuments with astonishing accuracy. The precision of the Great Pyramid, its sides nearly perfectly aligned with the cardinal directions, stands not as proof of alien intervention, but as testimony to a civilization deeply attuned to the cosmos. Still, even as we acknowledge their brilliance, we cannot deny the wonder of their achievements. How did ordinary tools produce such perfect seams between massive stones? How did thousands of workers coordinate without computers, machines, or modern engineering? The answer lies in the rhythm of their society. From childhood, Egyptians grew up within a culture that valued structure, repetition, and collective effort. Their religion reinforced this, emphasizing harmony, balance, and the eternal order known as Ma'at. Building a pyramid was not just a physical task. It was a sacred act of cosmic alignment, a way of maintaining balance in the universe. Every worker, from the quarryman swinging his hammer to the architect tracing lines in the sand, believed they were participating in something far greater than themselves. This shared purpose created a unity of vision rarely seen in history. Thousands of hands working together with one intention. This is the quiet, human truth behind the grandeur of the pyramids. And yet, the more we learn about them, the more questions arise. How do they maintain such consistency over decades of construction? How do they lift and place stones weighing several tons with such accuracy? How did they scale their designs from smaller step pyramids to the elegant geometry of Giza? Archaeological discoveries continue to reveal pieces of this puzzle. At sites like Deir el-Medina and the workmen's village near Giza, excavations have uncovered tools, pottery, records, and even the remains of workers who lived and died in service of the pharaoh's grand vision. These findings show evidence of medical care, experiments with different construction techniques, and a level of organization that rivals modern project management. The workers were not merely laborers. They were part of a sophisticated workforce operating at the peak of ancient innovation. What makes this all the more fascinating is that, despite the immense effort and planning involved, the Egyptians did not leave detailed instructions describing how the pyramids were built. They recorded myths, rituals, and daily transactions, yet the actual engineering process was passed down through practical knowledge rather than written manuals. This absence has allowed mystery to flourish. Without a clear blueprint, the mind naturally wanders toward possibilities, some grounded, some imaginative, some cosmic in scale. And so, the story of human ingenuity becomes inseparable from the story of human curiosity. On one hand, we see the capability of ancient Egyptians, their skill, their coordination, their profound understanding of mathematics and astronomy. On the other, we see the gaps in our knowledge, the spaces that invite wonder and speculation. These contrasts deepen the intrigue rather than diminish it. As we leave this chapter, one thing becomes clear. The people of ancient Egypt were far more advanced than early explorers believed, and far more capable than the myths of alien builders suggest. Yet acknowledging their achievements does not dispel the mystery. Instead, it opens the door to an even more compelling question. If humans built these wonders, how did they achieve such seemingly impossible feats with the means available to them? This question leads us naturally to the next part of our journey, where we examine the most puzzling aspects of the pyramids themselves. The alignments, the precision, the engineering choices that continue to inspire both admiration and speculation. For within those stones, in their weight and their placement, lies the heart of the mystery that has endured for thousands of years. There comes a moment when standing before the Great Pyramid that the mind grows quiet, not from calm but from awe. The scale of the structure overwhelms the senses. Its edges, worn by thousands of years, still hold traces of perfect lines that once gleamed beneath polished casing stones. Its sides rise at angles so precise that even modern instruments find little fault. It is in this moment, when admiration blends with disbelief, that people begin to whisper the question, how could something so ancient be so exact? The pyramids give an impression of impossibility. Each block weighs anywhere from 2 to 15 tons, carved and shaped with remarkable uniformity. The sheer volume of stone is staggering. More than 2 million blocks make up the Great Pyramid alone, forming a structure so massive that its shadow once stretched like a sundial across the desert. And yet, despite their immense size, the pyramids reveal a level of fine engineering that seems almost delicate. The base of the Great Pyramid is nearly a perfect square, with sides differing by only a fraction of a percent. The orientation toward true north is astonishingly accurate, deviating only slightly, a feat difficult even with today's technology. These details create a gentle tension in the mind. On one side lies the rational explanation, meticulous observation of the sky, patient testing, and generations of practice technique. On the other side lies the whisper of wonder. Could such precision really have been achieved with simple tools in human hands? It is this contrast between the known and the unknown that fuels the enduring mystery. The internal structure of the pyramids deepens the enigma. Hidden within the stone mass are corridors, chambers, and shafts aligned with mathematical intention. The descending passage points toward the northern sky, while narrow shafts extend toward constellations believed to hold spiritual significance. The King's Chamber, with its immense granite blocks stacked layer upon layer above it to relieve pressure, displays architectural wisdom far ahead of its time. Even today, engineers debate how such massive stones were lifted and positioned with such accuracy in confined spaces. Then there are the joints between the blocks, some so tight that a sheet of paper cannot slip through. The stones were shaped to fit one another with an almost artistic sensitivity, each surface carefully worked until it matched its neighbor. This precision was not accidental. It was deliberate, laborious, and necessary for stability. Yet once again, the methods used remain only partially understood. Did they carve each stone individually on site, adjusting it until it settled perfectly into place? Were they guided by a system of templates? Or is there some technique still waiting to be rediscovered? Transportation of the stones adds its own layer of intrigue. Many were quarried nearby, but the granite used in internal chambers came from Aswan, hundreds of kilometers to the south. To move such heavy material across vast distances, down the Nile, across the desert, required extraordinary planning. Were special barges built for this task? How many workers were needed? What systems prevented the stones from shifting or sinking? Archaeologists offer practical answers, but none fully capture the sheer determination required for such a journey. The question grows even deeper when considering the pyramid's original appearance. Today we see weathered, uneven surfaces, but in ancient times the Great Pyramid was covered in smooth, white limestone casing stones, polished to a mirror-like finish. This would have caused the monument to shine brilliantly under the sun, reflecting light across the desert like a beacon. At night, under the moon and stars, the surface would have glowed softly, giving the impression of a structure suspended between earth and sky. To ancient eyes, the pyramid must have seemed almost otherworldly, an effect achieved entirely by human intention. Even more intriguing are the astronomical alignments. Many researchers believe the pyramids mirror specific stars or constellations. Their arrangement on the Giza Plateau may reflect the pattern of Orion's belt. Their orientation toward cardinal directions suggests a deep understanding of celestial movement. How did the Egyptians achieve this? They lacked magnetic compasses. They had no telescopes. Yet they watched the stars with such devotion that their monuments remain aligned with cosmic order thousands of years later. This is where the sense of impossibility often reaches its height. Precision, scale, geometry, astronomy, all woven into a single structure without machinery or modern science. It feels as though the pyramids exist at the crossroads of two worlds: the practical world of human engineering and the mysterious world of cosmic symbolism. Their construction shows mastery of mathematics and measurement, yet their design reflects spiritual concepts tied to eternity, resurrection, and the soul's journey through the night sky. Some anomalies continue to puzzle researchers. Certain chambers within the Great Pyramid appear unfinished, raising questions about their purpose. Long, narrow shafts were discovered that do not connect to the exterior but seem aligned with specific stars. The massive granite beams above the king's chamber are arranged in layers whose function is understood, yet the complexity surprises even modern engineers. And then there is the sheer speed of construction, estimated at around 20 to 27 years. To complete such a monument within a single pharaoh's reign required precision planning, unwavering discipline, and extraordinary coordination. Despite all this, the pyramids do not reveal their secrets easily. They stand silently, offering evidence but rarely explanations. Every discovery seems to raise new questions. How do they maintain such precision across millions of stones? How did they prevent misalignment over decades of construction? What methods did they use to ensure the structure remained stable? Why were specific measurements chosen? Even the purpose of some chambers remains debated. These mysteries do not prove alien assistance, but they do nurture wonder. They remind us how much human history lies beyond our full understanding. They show that, even when evidence exists, interpretation is not always certain. The pyramids invite us to explore both the scientific and the mystical, to stand in the space where knowledge meets imagination. As we step away from the stones themselves, one thought lingers gently. The pyramids, in all their precision and grandeur, were built by a civilization that looked constantly to the sky. Their monuments echo the heavens. Their temples align with the stars. Their mythology speaks of journeys beyond the visible world. Whether symbolic or literal, this connection creates a natural bridge between earthly engineering and celestial questions. This brings us softly to the next part of our journey, where we turn our gaze upward, toward the sky that guided the builders, inspired their beliefs, and sparked centuries of speculation. For in understanding the heavens above Giza, we may uncover new clues about the intentions behind these magnificent structures. When night settles over the Giza Plateau, a gentle transformation occurs. The heat of the sun fades, the desert cools, and the sky opens like a vast black ocean scattered with shimmering stars. For ancient Egyptians, this sky was not merely a backdrop to their lives. It was a map of divine order, a living tapestry filled with gods, stories, and sacred patterns. To understand the pyramids, we must step into this celestial world, for these monuments do not simply rise from the earth. They reach toward the heavens with deliberate intention. To the ancient mind, the sky was eternal. Unlike the shifting sands, the drifting river, or the fragile human lifespan, the stars moved with a rhythm that never faltered. They appeared in predictable cycles, rising and setting with steady grace. This reliability made the heavens sacred. Egyptians believed their gods dwelled among the constellations, guiding the world from above. The pharaoh himself was thought to ascend to the stars after death, joining the celestial realm as a divine presence. In this context, aligning monuments to the sky was not symbolic embellishment. It was an act of cosmic unity. One of the most intriguing connections between the pyramids and the night sky involves the constellation of Orion. The three pyramids of Giza are arranged in a pattern that resembles the stars of Orion's belt, a detail that has inspired countless theories. Scholars have long debated whether this alignment was intentional or coincidental. Some argue that the pyramids were built to mirror the heavens, creating a sacred landscape on Earth that reflected the celestial realm. Others believe the resemblance is overstated. Yet when standing under the night sky, watching Orion rise above the desert horizon, it is difficult not to sense a connection between the constellation's glow and the silent forms of the pyramids below. Orion held immense significance in Egyptian mythology. The constellation was associated with Osiris, the god of the afterlife, resurrection, and cosmic justice. Osiris represented the eternal cycle of death and rebirth, mirroring the movement of the stars across the sky. If the pyramids were intended as gateways for the pharaoh's soul, aligning them with Orion would have been a profound act of spiritual symbolism. By linking the earthly tomb to the celestial realm of Osiris, the Egyptians ensured the pharaoh's safe passage into immortality. Nearby, the star Sirius added another layer of meaning. Known as Sopdet in Egypt, Sirius was associated with the goddess Isis, the protector of the dead and giver of life. Its heliacal rising, when the star appears just before dawn after being hidden by the sun, marked the annual flooding of the Nile, a moment that brought renewal to the land. This event symbolized rebirth, fertility, and divine blessing. Some researchers believe the placement and orientation of certain shafts within the Great Pyramid were designed to point towards Sirius, allowing the soul of the pharaoh to commune with the goddess who restored life. The Egyptians observed these celestial cycles with extraordinary precision. Without telescopes or complex instruments, they used simple tools, sighting rods, cords, and plumb lines, to align their structures with astonishing accuracy. They watched the stars rise and set, marking their movements night after night, year after year. Over generations, this careful study formed a body of astronomical knowledge deeply intertwined with their religion and architecture. Their temples, pyramids, and monuments often align with solstices, equinoxes, and star positions that held spiritual meaning. The Great Pyramid's near-perfect orientation to true north is one of the most remarkable examples, achieved through methods that still inspire admiration. These connections between sky and stone fuel the sense of mystery surrounding the pyramids. If the Egyptians oriented their monuments so precisely toward celestial bodies, what deeper meanings lie hidden within their alignments? Were these choices purely symbolic, or did they serve some practical purpose as well? Did the ancient Egyptians understand more about the heavens than we give them credit for? Or does the precision hint at knowledge from an even older culture, passed down through forgotten records? These questions drift like soft winds across the plateau, encouraging quiet reflection rather than demanding answers. As we explore these possibilities, it becomes clear that the pyramids are not isolated structures. They are part of a larger, interconnected landscape shaped by both earthly and celestial forces. The layout of Giza, the spacing between monuments, the orientation of causeways, all seem to echo patterns in the sky. Some researchers believe the pyramids reflect not only Orion's belt, but also the Milky Way, mirroring the celestial river believed to represent the Nile's divine counterpart. Whether intentional or imagined, these parallels invite a sense of harmony between heaven and earth, a unity that permeated Egyptian thought. The fascination deepens when we consider how ancient people interpreted the sky. Without modern science to explain celestial mechanics, they saw the heavens as a realm of gods, ancestors, and eternal truths. Stars were not distant suns. They were living beings, guiding forces, cosmic markers of destiny. In this worldview, building a pyramid aligned with the stars was not an act of engineering. It was a sacred ritual, a way to connect the pharaoh's eternal soul to the timeless order of the universe. Every angle, every measurement, every orientation was imbued with spiritual significance. Modern astronomy has added its own layer of intrigue. Studies have shown that certain pyramid shafts align with star positions as they appeared thousands of years ago, suggesting intentional design. Researchers debate these findings endlessly, yet the idea persists because it fuels both scientific curiosity and imaginative wonder. Could the Egyptians have had a more advanced understanding of the stars than previously thought? Or were they simply devoted observers, mapping the sky with patient dedication over generations? In the absence of definitive answers, mystery remains. Even today, when standing beneath the night sky of Egypt, the pyramids seem to whisper of cosmic purpose. Their enormous forms cast long shadows across the sand, echoing the patterns of stars above. Their silent presence feels both grounded and ethereal, anchored to the earth, yet reaching toward the heavens. It is easy to imagine ancient priests performing rituals at sunset, watching the first stars appear and feeling the immense weight of celestial cycles shaping their world. The pyramids, in this context, become more than tombs. They become instruments of alignment, part of a cosmic conversation that has flowed through millennia. As we gently step away from the celestial realm, a new question emerges like a soft glow on the horizon. How did these cosmic patterns inspire theories of extraterrestrial involvement? If the pyramids mirror the heavens so precisely, could that connection have sparked the belief that their builders were not entirely human? Did the sky itself become the bridge between history and speculation? The journey now leads us from the known celestial alignments into the speculative and imaginative world of alien hypotheses, a transition as smooth as night turning into dawn, where wonder continues to unfold. As humankind's gaze turned upward and our understanding of the cosmos deepened, a curious idea began to take shape, an idea that blended wonder with suspicion, fascination with uncertainty. If the pyramids were aligned so precisely with the stars, if they embodied mathematics beyond what many believed ancient civilizations capable of, could it be that their creators were not entirely human? This thought, once a quiet murmur in the corners of speculative philosophy, gradually grew into a worldwide phenomenon. The hypothesis that extraterrestrial visitors might have played a role in shaping Earth's earliest monumental achievements. The modern form of this theory gained momentum in the mid-20th century, when space exploration ignited imaginations across the globe. As rockets soared into the sky and the moon became a destination rather than a myth, people began to look differently at history. Monuments that once seemed purely human now felt connected to a larger cosmic narrative. The universe no longer appeared unreachable. It felt closer, alive, and filled with possibilities. In this climate of awe and discovery, the pyramids, ancient, enormous, precise, became natural focal points for questions about contact with advanced beings. Some theorists proposed that if intelligent alien life existed elsewhere in the cosmos, it might have visited Earth in distant times. After all, humanity itself had only just begun its journey into space. If our fledgling civilization could send machines and signals into the void, why couldn't another civilization have done the same thousands or even millions of years earlier? The pyramids, with their alignment, geometry, and enduring mystery, seem to many like the perfect legacy of such an encounter. Writers like Erich von Däniken popularized the notion of ancient astronauts, beings from other planets who supposedly visited Earth and shared technological or architectural knowledge with early humans. His books suggested that many ancient structures around the world, not just the pyramids, might be remnants of alien intervention. Carvings that resembled flying objects, myths about gods descending from the sky, and unexplained engineering feats were woven into a narrative that captivated the public. Although archaeologists criticized these ideas as imaginative rather than evidence-based, they spread widely, shaping popular culture for decades to come. Television amplified the fascination. Programs portrayed the pyramids as coded messages, energy generators, or cosmic beacons designed by visitors from stars. Dramatic music and speculative narration created an atmosphere where the line between historical fact and imaginative theory blurred. Viewers were not always told what was proven and what was conjecture, but many found the mysteries irresistible. The idea of aliens building the pyramids was not just a theory. It became a cultural story, retold and reshaped by countless voices. At the heart of these alien hypotheses lies one central theme: the belief that ancient humans lacked the knowledge, tools, or organizational ability to create such monumental structures. Supporters of this view often point to the size of the stones, the precision of the cuts, and the astronomical alignments as evidence of advanced technology beyond the reach of Bronze Age civilization. They argue that some aspects of the pyramids appear too perfect, too aligned with cosmic phenomena, to be entirely human works. Some speculators propose that aliens provided sophisticated tools, laser-like cutting devices, anti-gravity technology, or levitation systems, to help lift and place massive stones. Others suggest that extraterrestrials might have acted as teachers, sharing advanced mathematical or architectural principles with early Egyptians who later incorporated them into their cultural and spiritual practices. These ideas, though unsupported by scientific evidence, have become part of a narrative that appeals to those who find mystery more compelling than conventional explanations. Another branch of the theory suggests that the pyramids served as landing pads, energy transmitters, or communication beacons for alien spacecraft. The shape of the pyramid, the orientation towards specific stars, and the internal chambers have all been interpreted through this lens. Some believe the pyramids resonate with cosmic frequencies or are positioned to draw energy from the Earth's magnetic field. These concepts often blend spiritual symbolism with futuristic imagination, creating a hybrid worldview where ancient wisdom and extraterrestrial technology coexist. Even the artwork and hieroglyphs of ancient Egypt become sources of speculation. Certain carvings that resemble flying objects or beings with unusual features have been interpreted by ancient astronaut theorists as visual records of alien encounters. Although scholars explain these images as stylized depictions of gods, mythical creatures, or symbolic elements of Egyptian belief, the alternative interpretations continue to intrigue those who prefer extraordinary explanations. Why do these ideas appeal to so many? The answer lies partly in the emotional experience of standing before the pyramids. Their immense scale and enduring presence can make our own abilities feel small. It is easier, for some, to believe that a power beyond human comprehension must have been involved. The alien hypothesis restores a sense of magic to the ancient world, allowing imagination to soar where historical certainty feels limiting. Another reason is psychological. Humans are drawn to patterns and meaning. When we encounter something that seems too perfect, too aligned, or too mysterious, our minds instinctively search for explanations that match the scale of our wonder. The pyramids do not seem like ordinary constructions. They seem like messages carved into the earth, gestures toward a larger cosmic order. Alien theories satisfy this yearning for deeper meaning, giving shape to the spaces where historical knowledge is incomplete. Culturally, the theory has become embedded in modern storytelling. Films, shows, literature, and online communities constantly reinterpret the idea, blending science fiction with pseudoscience, myth with imagination. The more the theory is repeated, the more familiar it becomes. And in that familiarity, it gains a kind of narrative comfort, even when not supported by evidence. It becomes a lens through which people explore the mysteries of the past. Yet beneath the dramatic claims lies a softer truth. Alien hypotheses thrive not because they are proven, but because they evoke a sense of wonder. They transform history from a sequence of facts into a landscape of possibilities. They give people permission to dream beyond the boundaries of conventional thought, to imagine a universe alive with interactions between worlds. Still, even as these ideas captivate the public, they remain outside the realm of academic archaeology. Researchers emphasize that no physical evidence has ever been found to support extraterrestrial involvement in pyramid construction. The tools, quarries, worker villages, and architectural techniques discovered over decades of excavation all point to a human story, one of innovation, skill, and perseverance. The alien theories, while imaginative, fill the gaps left by incomplete records, offering narrative satisfaction where scientific explanation remains complex. As we leave this realm of speculation, the mystery does not disappear. It simply shifts shape. Understanding why alien theories appeal to us helps highlight the contrast between factual history and the stories we create to explain the unknown. This prepares us for the next part of our journey, where we explore the supposed evidence behind these theories. Artifacts, carvings, and texts that some believe hint at extraterrestrial contact. In moving forward, we continue gently, neither dismissing curiosity nor abandoning reason, allowing wonder and knowledge to walk side by side as the desert night deepens. When the conversation turns to aliens and ancient monuments, people often point to certain pieces of evidence they believe cannot be explained by traditional archaeology. These artifacts, carvings, and writings form the heart of the extraterrestrial theory, serving as visual and symbolic anchors for ideas that stretch far beyond the boundaries of recorded history. Yet, like all mysteries, they exist in the delicate space between interpretation and imagination. To understand them, we must walk gently, exploring both the claims and the evidence with a calm, open mind. One of the most frequently cited forms of supposed alien evidence is the presence of unusual carvings or hieroglyphs in ancient sites. Among these, a carving at the Temple of Seti in Abydos is often highlighted by alternative theorists. It appears to depict shapes that resemble helicopters, submarines, or even futuristic aircraft. When first viewed, especially through the lens of modern imagination, these shapes ignite excitement. Could the ancient Egyptians have known about flying machines? Did they witness technology far beyond their own era? However, archaeologists explain that these images result from layered carvings. Earlier inscriptions were filled in and recarved, causing shapes to overlap in ways that resemble modern objects by coincidence. The explanation is simple, yet the allure of the mysterious image persists, demonstrating how easily our minds leap from ambiguity to extraordinary possibility. The carving becomes a symbol not of extraterrestrial technology, but of how human perception transforms the unclear into the fantastic. Another often cited piece of evidence comes from symbols associated with the so-called light bulb carvings found in the Temple of Dendera. These reliefs show a serpent emerging from a lotus flower, enclosed within an oval shape. Fringe theorists suggest these images represent electrical light bulbs, implying that ancient people possessed or were given advanced technology. Yet mainstream Egyptology interprets these carvings as mythological scenes related to creation stories and divine power. The serpent represents life force. The oval symbolizes the womb of creation. What looks to modern viewers like a glass bulb is simply a sacred symbol drawn through the lens of Egyptian cosmology. In this contrast lies the heart of many alternative interpretations. Ancient art speaks a symbolic language that modern minds instinctively try to translate into tangible technological objects. Where Egyptians saw gods and cosmic energy, modern viewers see machines and devices. The mystery is not in the carving itself, but in the distance between ancient symbolism and contemporary imagination. Some theorists also point to artifacts that seem out of place in time. Small carvings resembling rockets or humanoid figures with elongated heads become fuel for extraterrestrial speculation. For example, figurines from the pre-Columbian Americas and ancient Africa are sometimes said to depict astronauts or alien visitors. But archaeologists remind us that many cultures stylize human features in artistic ways. Elongated heads often symbolize nobility, spirituality, or aesthetic preference rather than extraterrestrial origin. Without written records explaining their intention, these objects become blank canvases onto which modern observers project their own ideas. There are also claims about advanced tools or machines hidden within the pyramids, though none have ever been found. What has been uncovered, copper chisels, stone hammers, wooden sledges, fits the expected technology of the time. Yet theorists argue that such tools could not have achieved the precision seen in pyramid construction. They point to tight seams between stones, perfectly carved channels, and smooth internal surfaces as evidence requiring advanced machining. Archaeologists counter this by explaining that precision can be achieved through patience, repeated smoothing, and skilled craftsmanship. The Egyptians had generations of experience working with stone, developing sophisticated techniques suited to their tools. A copper chisel may seem simple, but in the hands of a master, it becomes capable of remarkable work. The evidence found on site, unfinished blocks showing chisel marks, tool fragments, worker graffiti, supports a human origin. Still, for some, the absence of detailed construction records allows mystery to fill the remaining space. The most captivating form of alleged alien evidence lies not in objects, but in texts and myths. Ancient writings often describe gods who came from the sky, beings who brought knowledge, or travelers who descended in shining forms. These narratives resemble, in structure if not in tension, modern descriptions of extraterrestrial beings. Stories of Ra's son Boat, the descent of Horus, or the celestial origins of Osiris become woven into arguments that the Egyptians recorded encounters with otherworldly visitors. However, mythology across all cultures uses the sky as a realm of divinity and transcendence. Gods descend from the heavens not because ancient people witnessed spacecraft, but because the sky represented the unknown, the eternal, the powerful. The sun, the stars, and the night sky were natural symbols for divine presence. When Egyptians described gods arriving from the sky, they did so through spiritual and metaphorical language, not literal record-keeping. Despite this, the symbolic overlap continues to stir curiosity. The shape of a god's elongated crown, the radiance surrounding deities, or the depiction of beings with animal heads. All these iconographic elements are interpreted by some as portrayals of alien visitors. Yet within Egyptian culture, these features had clear symbolic meanings, representing attributes like wisdom, strength, vision, or divine authority. Some believers reference ancient texts that describe glowing objects crossing the sky, what might today be interpreted as UFO sightings. One such record, the Tully Papyrus, describes fiery disks appearing above Egypt, but its authenticity is heavily disputed, and no original document has ever been found. Without reliable evidence, the text remains more legend than proof. In exploring these claims, one thing becomes clear: the allure of alien evidence thrives in ambiguity. When carvings are unclear, When artifacts lack explanation, when myths use symbolic language, the mind leaps toward extraordinary interpretations. This is not a flaw in human reasoning, but a reflection of our deep desire for meaning. We want the past to speak to us, to reveal secrets that connect us to the wider universe. At the same time, scientific explanations often feel too grounded, too ordinary to satisfy the imagination. Archaeology describes slow processes, years of planning, generations of workers, incremental techniques perfected over centuries. In contrast, alien theories offer instant, spectacular solutions. They transform complex human history into a single, sweeping narrative of cosmic intervention. They replace uncertainty with wonder. They feed a part of the human spirit that hungers for mystery. In this interplay between evidence and interpretation lies the enchantment of the alien hypothesis. It does not endure because of physical proof. It endures because of emotional resonance. It invites people to look at ancient history with wide eyes, to ask questions that stretch beyond the walls of the known world. As we move forward, it becomes essential to explore not only the evidence offered in support of extraterrestrial theories, but also the evidence that challenges them. By comparing both sides with calm and open curiosity, we can better understand how these ideas form, evolve, and persist. And so, our journey continues gently toward the next chapter, where archaeology reveals a different perspective, one rooted not in cosmic visitors, but in the remarkable capabilities of human hands and human minds. As compelling as alien theories may appear, there is another story, quieter, slower, built not from speculation but from years of excavation, study, and patient observation. This story does not leap to the extraordinary. Instead, it walks gently through layers of sand and time, uncovering traces left behind by the very people who lived, worked, and built along the Nile. For archaeologists, the debate over who built the pyramids is not a mystery wrapped in cosmic shadows. It is a carefully pieced together mosaic of human effort, ingenuity, and evolution. And though this explanation lacks the drama of extraterrestrial intervention, it carries its own kind of wonder, one rooted in the astonishing capabilities of human civilization. When archaeological teams began systematically studying the Giza Plateau, they discovered something that changed the way the world understood pyramid construction: the remains of worker villages. These settlements, located southeast of the pyramids, revealed a bustling community of laborers, artisans, cooks, scribes, and support workers. Rows of houses, bakeries, breweries, medical facilities, and storage buildings painted a picture of a society organized for large-scale construction. These were not slave camps, but structured labor communities, showing signs of careful planning and investment. Workers were fed diets rich in protein, tended by physicians, and given proper burials, treatment inconsistent with the myth of enslaved labor. Alongside the villages, archaeologists found administrative papyri detailing supplies, work schedules, and labor rotations. These documents spoke of a massive state-run workforce, divided into crews and teams, each with specific responsibilities. Far from evidence of alien technology, these records revealed something even more impressive: human organization on a scale few ancient civilizations could match. The pyramids did not rise from chaos. They rose from a society that understood meticulous coordination. Excavations at quarries added another essential layer to the archaeological understanding. At Tara, where fine limestone casing stones were extracted, workers left behind inscriptions describing their tasks and their pride in the work. At Aswan, granite quarry marks match precisely the stones used in the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid. These inscriptions bear the names of crews and supervisors, sometimes playful, sometimes ceremonial. They anchor the construction firmly to human hands, leaving little room for the idea that extraterrestrials were involved. Tools uncovered at these sites provide even more clarity. Copper chisels, dolerite pounding stones, ropes, sledges, and wooden levers may appear primitive, but they reveal a toolkit perfectly adapted to the materials at hand. Experiments conducted by modern engineers and archaeologists show that these tools, when used by skilled workers, are fully capable of shaping, smoothing, and transporting large stones. Many unfinished blocks still bear the marks of these tools, showing exactly how they were cut and shaped. The evidence aligns so neatly with the archaeological model that the alien theory, while imaginative, becomes difficult to justify on a factual basis. The methods of transportation, once seen as impossibly complex, have also become better understood. Wall paintings and excavated sledges suggest that stones were dragged across the desert using lubrication, likely water, to reduce friction. A simple yet effective technique. Recent discoveries of ancient ramps at quarry sites, including a sophisticated ramp system at Hatnub, show how incline mechanisms may have been used to move heavy blocks upward. These ramps were not elaborate alien machines. They were innovations created through experimentation and necessity. Inside the pyramids, further clues reveal human craftsmanship at work. The careful placement of internal granite beams, designed to distribute weight, demonstrates a deep understanding of structural engineering. The precision of the chambers and corridors, often cited as evidence of advanced technology, can be explained through methods such as string alignment, plumb bobs, leveling tools, and geometry grounded in human observation. The Egyptians did not need lasers. They had generations of builders who refined their methods through repetition and tradition. Even the astronomical alignments of the pyramids fit naturally into this picture. Far from requiring extraterrestrial instruction, the alignment to true north could have been achieved using star observation, a method well within the capabilities of ancient Egyptian astronomer priests. By tracking the rotation of circumpolar stars, they could determine cardinal directions with surprising accuracy. What appears miraculous from a modern perspective becomes understandable when viewed through the lens of ancient discipline and reverence for the sky. Archaeological research also sheds light on the incremental evolution of pyramid construction. Long before the Great Pyramid, smaller structures, step pyramids, mastabas, and experimental tombs show the gradual refinement of architectural techniques. This steady progression contradicts the narrative of sudden, alien-delivered knowledge. Instead, it reveals centuries of trial, innovation, and learning. The pyramids were not an isolated burst of brilliance. They were the culmination of generations of human effort. Yet, despite this overwhelming body of evidence, the allure of the alien theory persists. Partly because evidence of ancient labor, broken tools, pottery shards, old campsites does not carry the glamour of mysterious carvings or cosmic speculation. Human history is often built from the ordinary: a discarded chisel, a worker's inscription, a written supply record. These things do not spark wonder at first glance, but they speak with quiet authenticity. Each artifact whispers that extraordinary monuments can rise from ordinary tools when guided by extraordinary determination. Archaeologists understand that the appeal of the alien theory is emotional, not empirical. People want to feel connected to something larger than themselves. They want the pyramids to be messages across time, symbols of cosmic contact, proof of a universe alive with intelligence. Yet the real story, humans shaping stone through skill, patience, and vision, is no less moving. It reminds us of the immense potential within our species, a potential often forgotten in the rush of modern life. Still, even with all this evidence, mysteries remain. The exact construction techniques used during different stages of the pyramid building process are not fully known. Some aspects, like the transportation of the largest granite blocks, still spark debate. The absence of written manuals leaves room for interpretation. In these gaps, imagination continues to thrive. But archaeology does not fear the unknown. It embraces it, seeking answers through careful study rather than cosmic conjecture. What emerges is not a rejection of wonder, but a redirection of it. The pyramids stand as monuments not to extraterrestrial visitors, but to human capability. Every block laid, every angle measured, Every chamber carved speaks of people who believed deeply in their purpose. And that belief created something truly magnificent, structures that have endured for thousands of years and continue to inspire awe across the world. As we shift from what archaeology reveals to what human psychology perceives, we enter a quieter, more introspective realm. For the next step in our journey requires understanding not just how the pyramids were built, but why people continue to search for extraordinary explanations even when ordinary ones exist. The story now turns gently inward, toward the workings of the human mind and the reasons we're drawn so powerfully to the mysterious. There's a quiet truth hidden beneath every great mystery. Sometimes the puzzle tells us as much about ourselves as it does about the past. When people look at the pyramids and imagine alien architects, they're not only questioning history, they're revealing something deep about human nature. The desire for extraordinary explanations, the pull toward the magical and the impossible, is woven into the very fabric of our minds. Just as ancient Egyptians once looked to the stars for meaning, modern thinkers look to the unknown to fill the spaces where certainty ends. One of the first psychological forces at play is our instinct for pattern recognition. Humans are natural seekers of connection. When we see 3 stars lined neatly in Orion's belt and 3 pyramids arranged similarly on the Earth, our minds leap to association. It feels intentional, meaningful, as though the heavens and the earth are engaged in a secret dialogue. Even when the scientific explanation is simpler, that similarity does not prove causation. The emotional appeal of the pattern remains strong. We want the universe to feel orderly, symbolic, intentional. Another part of our psychology is drawn to wonder. Ordinary explanations rarely satisfy the imagination. Human beings built the pyramids with simple tools? Through patience, repetition, and coordinated labor? While this answer may be accurate, it lacks the enchantment of a story involving visitors from the stars or forgotten technologies hidden beneath the sands. Our minds, especially when faced with the vastness of ancient monuments, crave narratives that elevate the mystery into something cosmic. It is not a rejection of truth, it is a yearning for awe. There's also comfort in believing that powerful, advanced beings once touched our world. Such ideas soften the loneliness of existence. They suggest that humanity is part of a larger cosmic family, that we were noticed, perhaps even guided. The notion that extraterrestrials visited ancient civilizations offers a sense of significance, as if our planet played a role in a larger universal story. This emotional appeal often outweighs logical scrutiny, allowing extraterrestrial theories to flourish even without physical evidence. Uncertainty plays its part as well. When history leaves gaps, humans instinctively fill them. The pyramids, for all we know about them, still hold unanswered questions. How were the heaviest stones moved? Why were the pyramids built with such extreme precision? Why were certain astronomical alignments chosen? These unanswered questions act like open doors, and the human mind cannot resist stepping through them. In the absence of complete clarity, speculative ideas feel both permissible and exciting. There's also a natural difficulty in accepting the brilliance of ancient civilizations. Modern society often underestimates the intelligence and capability of people who lived thousands of years ago. We imagine them as less knowledgeable simply because they did not possess modern technology. When confronted with engineering feats that rival modern precision, some people assume ancient humans could not have accomplished such things alone. This underestimation opens the door to alternative explanations, ones that credit external forces instead of human genius. The influence of media further shapes our perceptions. Television shows, films, books, and online communities present alien theories with dramatic flair, appealing visuals, and compelling storytelling. These narratives are not bound by a scientific rigor. Instead, they lean into excitement, mystery, and the thrill of possibility. For many viewers, these stories become deeply ingrained, shaping how they interpret historical evidence. Repetition turns speculation into familiarity, and familiarity begins to resemble truth. At a deeper level, the appeal of these theories may reflect a desire to reconnect with enchantment in a world that often feels overly rational. Modern life, with its scientific explanations and technological clarity, leaves little room for mythic thinking. The pyramids offer a gateway back into a realm of wonder, where mysteries are allowed to remain mysterious, and where ancient stones whisper secrets we may never fully uncover. Alien theories provide a way to hold onto that magic without needing definitive proof. In this sense, belief in extraterrestrial involvement is less about logic and more about emotional resonance. It arises from a blend of curiosity, imagination, and the timeless human desire for stories that expand our sense of possibility. The pyramids are not just structures. They are mirrors reflecting our longing for connection, meaning, and mystery. And because those longings endure, the theories endure as well. As we leave this introspective moment, the path ahead widens once more. From the inner workings of the human mind, we step outward again toward the world, exploring how civilizations across the globe created their own monumental structures. And in this comparison, between pyramids on distant continents, we begin to see how universal the human impulse truly is, whether driven by necessity, by imagination, or by the shared desire to leave a mark upon the earth that time cannot erase. When we think of pyramids, the mind often travels immediately to Egypt, its golden sands, its stoic monuments, its timeless silhouettes rising beneath a vast desert sky. But Egypt is not the only place on Earth where ancient people built pyramidal structures. Across continents and oceans, from the jungles of Mesoamerica to the plains of China, from the deserts of Sudan to the mysterious islands of the Pacific, pyramids appear again and again in human history. Their shapes vary, their purposes differ, and their meanings shift with culture, yet the basic form, the rising design of layered steps or smooth sides, seems to echo across civilizations separated by distance and time. For many, this global pattern sparks a haunting question. If these cultures had no contact with one another, how did they all come to build such similar structures? Could it be coincidence? A shared source of knowledge? Or something more mysterious? A universal influence that touched humanity across the world? The contrast between separation and similarity becomes fertile ground for theories, both scholarly and speculative. Archaeologists explain that the pyramid shape is a natural solution to an engineering challenge. When building upward without advanced materials, a wide base and tapering sides provide stability. It is a structure that resists collapse, requires no steel framework, and distributes weight efficiently. Whether built from stone, mud brick, or earth, a pyramid can reach impressive heights without modern tools. In this sense, the pyramid is not just a cultural idea. It is an architectural instinct, born of practicality as much as symbolism. Yet for many, the similarity still feels uncanny. How did ancient Egyptians, Maya, Aztecs, Nubians, Chinese, and even prehistoric island cultures all gravitate toward monumental forms that resemble one another? Theories begin to drift once more into the realm of the extraordinary. Some propose that a forgotten global civilization once shared knowledge across continents. Others suggest celestial beings visited multiple regions, guiding early people towards certain sacred shapes. These ideas captivate the mind, offering a sense of connection across the world's ancient sites. The pyramids of Mesoamerica, rising from dense green forests, are among the most famous examples outside Egypt. Structures like the Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan or the steep temples of the Maya seem both familiar and foreign. Their steps rise sharply toward the sky, crowned with temples rather than smooth peaks. These pyramids were not tombs, but ceremonial platforms, designed for rituals, offerings, and astronomical observation. Like Egypt, these cultures watched the sky with profound reverence, aligning their structures with solstices, equinoxes, and the movement of Venus. The similarities are striking, yet they emerge from different traditions, different beliefs, different histories. Further south in Peru, the ancient Norte Chico civilization built pyramids even older than some in Egypt. These structures, made from woven reed bags filled with stone, reveal how early societies experimented with monumental architecture long before global communication existed. Their forms resemble the first Egyptian pyramids in spirit, though not in detail. Again, we see parallel evolution. Cultures responding to the human impulse to build upward, to elevate ritual, to shape the landscape with something enduring. In China, the burial mounds of early emperors take on a massive pyramidal shape, though covered with earth rather than carved from stone. Some researchers believe more than 100 such pyramids may exist across the region, hidden beneath layers of soil and vegetation. Like Egypt's pyramids, these structures symbolize power, eternity, and the divine role of rulers. Despite no known contact between the two civilizations, they share a belief that monumental architecture can bridge the human world with the realm of ancestors or gods. In Sudan, the ancient kingdom of Kush built pyramids that resemble Egypt's but are smaller and more steeply angled. These structures show clear cultural influence from Egypt, but over time, they evolved into a distinct architectural style. Their presence reminds us that ideas can travel across regions, adapting to new cultures. Even more mysterious are the pyramidal structures found in Polynesia and Micronesia, where stone platforms known as Mary and Ahu served as ceremonial centers. Though not true pyramids in form, their step designs echo similar impulses to lift rituals above the ground, to create sacred spaces closer to the sky, to express power and spirituality through height and shape. With each example, the mystery deepens, not because aliens must have been involved, but because humans across the world share a remarkable capacity for creativity. The pyramid becomes a symbol of universal aspiration, reaching upward, seeking stability, shaping the earth into forms that endure. Still, the temptation to connect these cultures through extraordinary means persists. Some theorists argue that the recurrence of pyramids worldwide points to a lost civilization, a mother culture whose knowledge spread before recorded history. Others weave narratives of extraterrestrial visitors teaching early humans the principles of sacred geometry. Though these theories lack concrete evidence, they appeal to our desire to see unity in the ancient world, to imagine that humanity was once part of a larger, interconnected story. Archaeologists, however, offer grounded explanations rooted in environment, engineering, and cultural symbolism. The pyramid shape arises naturally when building large structures with simple tools. Societies with hierarchical religions often choose monumental architecture to reflect divine order. Astronomy influences construction wherever the sky plays a central role in belief systems. These converging elements create similar outcomes across civilizations that never interacted. But the existence of multiple explanations, practical and fantastical, keeps the conversation alive. The pyramids of the world act like mirrors, reflecting whatever story people bring to them. For some, they reveal the universality of human innovation. For others, they hint at mysteries not yet uncovered. And for many, simply knowing that ancient people across continents felt the same pull to build upward creates a sense of connection through time. As we leave this global view, the mind naturally wonders about another possibility. If civilizations around the world created pyramids independently, does that mean they discovered lost knowledge now forgotten? Did they inherit ideas from earlier cultures erased by time? Or is it simply proof that humans, wherever they live, dream similar dreams? These questions lead us gently into the next stage of our journey, toward the concept of lost civilizations. Before we return fully to Egypt, we pause to explore the idea that some of the world's ancient knowledge may have roots deeper than we realize, buried beneath the sands of history, waiting for rediscovery. Across the vast timeline of human history, there are periods that glow brightly with recorded achievements, and others that fade into shadow, leaving behind only faint traces of forgotten cultures. Between these illuminated chapters lie stretches of time where civilizations rose, flourished, and disappeared with little more than ruins or whispers to mark their existence. As we contemplate the origins of the pyramids, some researchers and dreamers wonder whether the Egyptians were not the inventors of sacred architecture, but inheritors, recipients of knowledge passed down from cultures far older than their own. This idea sits delicately between archaeology and imagination, weaving a bridge between what is known and what might once have been. In the sands surrounding the Nile, archaeologists have uncovered evidence of settlements that predate the great dynasties by thousands of years. These early communities, shaped by shifting climates and the ebb and flow of the river, laid the foundations for Egyptian society. Yet their stories are faint. Many of their structures have eroded, and their artifacts speak only in fragments. Some researchers believe that these early people possessed insights or traditions later absorbed by the dynastic Egyptians, forming the roots of knowledge that would one day culminate in pyramid construction. If this is true, then the pyramids are not the beginning of a grand architectural narrative. They are the flowering of something far older. Climate shifts add complexity to the picture. Thousands of years before the first pyramid rose, the Sahara was not a barren wilderness, but a land of grasslands, lakes, and thriving communities. As the climate changed, these settlements faced scarcity and slowly migrated toward the Nile. Some of these ancient groups may have carried with them architectural, astronomical, or spiritual knowledge that influenced the emerging Egyptian culture. Because their structures were built from perishable materials, much of their story has vanished, leaving behind a silence that invites speculation. What did these lost civilizations know? What skills did they cultivate? How did their beliefs shape the cultures that followed? Other discoveries across the world feed this sense that humanity's early history might be deeper than we imagine. Sites like Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey challenge conventional timelines by revealing monumental architecture created thousands of years before the invention of writing or agriculture. The people who built it left no written records, yet their precision and sophistication suggest a level of knowledge previously thought impossible for such early communities. If a forgotten civilization could create such structures at the dawn of society, could there have been others whose achievements are now buried beyond reach? Some theorists propose that an ancient, advanced culture existed long before the civilizations we know, one that may have influenced distant regions after being fractured by natural disasters or dramatic climate changes. This hypothetical mother civilization appears in myths across cultures. Atlantis, Lemuria, Mu, names for places that may be metaphorical, symbolic, or faint memories of real groups erased by time. While archaeology has not confirmed the existence of such advanced prehistoric societies, their stories linger in legends, creating a sense of continuity between distant cultures. This legend-like continuity makes some wonder if the Egyptians inherited fragments of knowledge rather than inventing everything themselves. Even within Egypt, certain elements seem to point toward older origins. Some megalithic structures and temple foundations appear to predate the dynastic periods, their architectural styles subtly different from later constructions. Water weathering on structures around the Sphinx has led some researchers to argue for greater antiquity, suggesting it may have been carved at a time when rainfall in the region was far heavier. Though this interpretation remains controversial, it has sparked debates about whether Egypt's monumental heritage may extend deeper into the past than traditionally believed. If the Egyptians inherited knowledge, what form might it have taken? It may not have been advanced machines or forgotten technologies, as alternative theorists sometimes imagine. It could have been something quieter, yet equally powerful. An evolving tradition of observing the stars, a cultural reverence for geometric forms, or a method of organizing labor in ways that allowed for monumental construction. Knowledge need not be extravagant to be transformative. It can pass from generation to generation like a flame, shaped and refined until it allows achievements that seem impossible to outsiders. This perspective does not diminish the brilliance of the Egyptians. Instead, it enriches it. It shows them not as isolated geniuses, but as the inheritors of a long human journey. A journey in which countless unnamed people contributed small pieces of insight that culminated in the wonders we recognize today. The idea of inherited knowledge gives their achievements deeper roots, connecting them to the broader story of humanity's ancient creativity. Yet the mystery persists because the gaps in this story are so wide. Archaeological records do not always survive the erosion of thousands of years. Entire cultures can vanish without leaving clear signs of their existence. Natural disasters, migrations, and environmental changes can erase monumental works and disrupt knowledge transmission. Whenever the earth swallows the traces of a people, imagination steps forward to revive them in myth, speculation, or theory. Lost civilizations become vessels into which we pour our questions about the origins of human ingenuity. It is this blend of uncertainty and possibility that keeps the idea alive. The pyramids become markers not only of what the Egyptians achieved, but also of what earlier cultures may have known. They prompt us to consider that human history, as we know it, may be only the visible tip of a much larger, submerged world of forgotten achievements. Whether the Egyptians inherited technical knowledge, symbolic traditions, or simply the ambition to build monuments that touch the heavens, the pyramids stand as testaments to a cultural legacy far older than their stones. As we leave this landscape of speculation, we step naturally into a different kind of mystery, a realm not defined by lost civilizations or archaeological fragments, but by the stories people tell. For the Egyptians themselves did not claim their knowledge came from unknown human ancestors. They spoke instead of gods, sky beings, and celestial visitors. To understand how those myths have been transformed into modern alien theories, we must next turn to the symbolic world of ancient religion, where divine and cosmic forces shaped the earliest human imaginations. Long before anyone imagined extraterrestrials visiting Earth, ancient people looked to the sky and filled its vastness with gods, myths, and sacred stories. In Egypt, the night sky was not silent. It was alive with meaning. Stars were not distant suns. They were souls, deities, and eternal companions guiding both the living and the dead. The Egyptians believed the heavens were a realm of divine power, and from that luminous world came the beings who shaped life, death, and the cycles in between. When modern readers encounter these myths, it is easy to reinterpret them through the lens of alien visitation. Yet their origins belong to something far more poetic and deeply human. The gods of Egypt often traveled across the sky. Ra sailed daily in his sun boat, journeying from horizon to horizon, battling the forces of darkness during the night. Horus soared like a falcon, his wings spanning the heavens, symbolizing protection and divine authority. Nut, the sky goddess, arched over the earth, her body glittering with stars. These images were metaphors, rich in beauty and spiritual symbolism. They expressed ideas of cosmic order, rebirth, and the eternal struggle between light and shadow. To ancient Egyptians, these sky journeys were not literal flights, but expressions of natural forces made visible through storytelling. Yet when viewed from a modern perspective, one familiar with spacecraft, aircraft, and interstellar exploration, these celestial myths can appear strikingly similar to tales of beings descending from the heavens. Ra's boat might look like a craft traveling through the sky. The bright star gods could be misinterpreted as luminous beings or visitors from another world. The resurrection of Osiris, the shining body of Horus, or the radiant form of Isis. All of these divine images can take on new interpretations when viewed through the imaginative filter of science fiction. The symbolic becomes technological, and the mythic becomes extraterrestrial. This reimagining is not surprising. When ancient stories survive across millennia, their meanings often shift. People reinterpret old symbols in ways that reflect their own worldviews. A sky god in a pre-technological society symbolizes spiritual power, while a sky god in a technologically advanced society might resemble an alien visitor. The transformation says more about us than about the ancient Egyptians. It reveals our longing to connect the past with the unknown, to weave a narrative that merges spirituality with cosmic possibility. Some myths describe beings descending from the sky to teach, guide, or judge humanity. These figures are often portrayed with radiant forms, unusual features, or supernatural abilities. Fringe theorists interpret these stories as descriptions of extraterrestrials who may have visited Earth in prehistory. But within Egyptian culture, such stories serve symbolic purposes. Gods arriving from the sky represented divine intervention, cosmic balance, or the movement of celestial bodies. They did not imply biological beings from another planet. They spoke of spiritual relationships between the heavens and the earth. Even the architecture of temples and pyramids reflects these mythic beliefs. Many structures were designed to embody cosmic principles: the rising sun, the path of the stars, the journey of the soul. The pyramid itself was seen as a stairway to the heavens, a means for the pharaoh's spirit to ascend and join the gods. Because the Egyptians conceived the afterlife as a celestial realm, the imagery of ascent was central to their mythology. In such a context, references to the sky are not indications of alien influences, but expressions of spiritual longing. It is easy, from a modern vantage point, to view ancient myths as coded messages or misunderstood reports of alien encounters. Yet, doing so risks overlooking the profound poetic depth of ancient religion. These myths were not attempts to describe physical machines. They were attempts to understand existence, death, creation, and the cycles of nature. They answered emotional, spiritual, and philosophical questions long before scientific explanations existed. Still, the overlap between celestial symbolism and extraterrestrial imagery creates fertile ground for speculation. When we see winged beings descending from the sky, radiant forms shining like stars, or gods who impart knowledge, our imaginations naturally blur the lines between myth and possibility. These myths inspire their own mystery, not because they conceal alien secrets, but because they express timeless human dreams, dreams of connection with something greater than ourselves. As we gently step away from the world of mythology and reinterpretation, we move toward the modern era, where these ancient stories were transformed by television, mass media, and global fascination. The myths once whispered in temple halls have now become part of a contemporary narrative, one that links ancient gods with extraterrestrial visitors in the public imagination. And so, our journey flows softly into the next chapter, where modern culture reshapes these ancient ideas into new forms of wonder and speculation. As human curiosity moved into the modern age, the ancient mysteries of the pyramids found new life, carried not by priests or scholars, but by the powerful reach of television, books, and eventually the vast, unfiltered landscape of the internet. Stories once whispered in quiet fascination became global discussions, shared across screens and woven into the collective imagination of millions. In this era, the idea of extraterrestrial involvement in ancient history transformed from a fringe curiosity into a cultural phenomenon, one shaped as much by entertainment as by inquiry. The rise of mass media in the 20th century played a crucial role in this shift. As television became a household fixture, new forms of storytelling emerged, blending documentary, drama, and speculation into compelling narratives. Programs exploring ancient mysteries used dramatic music, atmospheric lighting, and suggestive questions to create a sense of wonder. Instead of presenting archaeology as a slow, methodical discipline, they framed history as a puzzle filled with hidden clues waiting to be decoded. The pyramids became sets, props, and symbols, perfect for narratives that danced between fact and imagination. One of the most influential forces in this realm was the growth of pseudo-archaeological television shows. These programs introduced millions of viewers to the idea that ancient civilizations may have received knowledge or technology from otherworldly beings. They highlighted anomalies, magnified uncertainties, and often left gaps for the imagination to fill. The tone was rarely dismissive. Instead, it invited viewers to question, speculate, and wonder. By blending entertainment with the language of inquiry, these shows blurred the boundary between science and storytelling. Books, too, shaped the modern fascination with extraterrestrial theories. Bestsellers proposing ancient astronaut connections reached audiences far beyond academic circles. These works often presented alternative explanations for historical artifacts, offering imaginative interpretations that felt thrilling and empowering. They suggested that mainstream archaeology was overlooking or even suppressing extraordinary truths. Such claims appealed to readers who felt drawn to narratives of hidden knowledge or secret history. Through persuasive language and selective evidence, these books helped establish the idea that alien contact was not just possible but plausible. As society entered the digital age, the spread of these ideas accelerated dramatically. The internet provided a space where speculation could thrive without constraint. Online forums, video platforms, and social media gave rise to communities built around ancient mysteries. Anyone could share theories, reinterpret photos, or create visual content highlighting intriguing artifacts or architectural features. The pyramids, once silent monuments anchored in the sands of Egypt, became one of the most discussed structures on the planet, examined not only by scholars but by enthusiasts, artists, theorists, and casual dreamers from every corner of the world. Algorithms played a quiet yet powerful role in shaping modern beliefs. Videos and articles that evoked curiosity, wonder, or controversy spread quickly, reaching millions of viewers. Content that suggested hidden truths or unexplained mysteries tended to perform well, capturing attention and encouraging engagement. As a result, theories linking aliens and ancient architecture became more visible and widespread. What began as niche speculation evolved into a global narrative reinforced by repetition and digital reach. This modern revival of extraterrestrial theories also reflects a broader cultural longing. In a world driven by technology, data, and scientific analysis, people sometimes yearn for the magical, the unknown, and the extraordinary. Ancient alien narratives offer a bridge between the past and the cosmos, weaving a story where humanity is part of a greater universal tapestry. They transform the pyramids into cosmic messages, ancient monuments into interstellar landmarks, and historical mystery into spiritual or existential wonder. At the same time, these stories often create tension with academic archaeology. Researchers who rely on evidence and careful methodology find themselves at odds with narratives shaped more by entertainment than by scholarship. Many archaeologists express frustration that sensationalism overshadows the genuine brilliance of ancient cultures. The alien theory, they argue, unintentionally diminishes the achievements of early civilizations by suggesting they could not have accomplished monumental feats without external help. Yet this criticism rarely diminishes the public fascination. Instead, the contrast between academic skepticism and popular enthusiasm deepens the sense of mystery. Despite the lack of scientific evidence supporting extraterrestrial involvement, the idea thrives because it lives in a space where curiosity outweighs certainty. People enjoy imagining possibilities that stretch beyond the boundaries of the known world. Ancient alien theories do not need proof to inspire wonder. They need only suggestion, ambiguity, and the enduring appeal of unanswered questions. The power of visual storytelling also contributes to the persistence of these ideas. Dramatic reconstructions, computer-generated imagery, and artistic interpretations create vivid impressions that linger in the mind. When viewers see glowing spacecraft hovering over pyramid silhouettes or simulations of extraterrestrial beings interacting with ancient builders, the imagery imprints itself deeply, even when presented as speculation rather than fact. The line between entertainment and evidence becomes soft, inviting, and easy to cross. Modern culture has also embraced a sense of global interconnectedness. As people learn more about ancient sites in Peru, Mexico, China, and the Middle East, the similarities between distant civilizations become more noticeable. These parallels spark questions that mainstream explanations sometimes fail to satisfy. Why did so many cultures build pyramids? Why did they align structures with stars? Why did myths around the world describe sky beings or celestial journeys? Theories involving extraterrestrials offer a single, sweeping answer, seductive in its simplicity and cosmic in its scope. For many, the idea of ancient aliens is not belief, but fascination, a mental playground where imagination is free to roam. It is a way to engage with history not as a fixed record, but as a living, breathing mystery. These narratives keep the ancient world alive in modern consciousness, encouraging people to explore, question, and revisit stories buried beneath centuries of silence. As we move forward, our journey leaves the digital age behind and returns to the stones themselves, to the quiet presence of the pyramids that inspired all these theories. For in the end, beyond media, beyond speculation, beyond cultural fascination, the pyramids remain unchanged, massive, silent, patient. And in their stillness lies a truth waiting to be rediscovered, not in the realm of the extraordinary, but in the timeless achievements of human hands and human spirit. The next chapter gently leads us back to the monuments themselves, inviting us to listen to what the stones might reveal when stripped of speculation, myth, and modern interpretation. There comes a moment, after the debates and theories and sweeping cosmic possibilities, when the mind longs for stillness, when speculation feels like noise, and the only truth we crave is the one whispered by the stones themselves. To return to the pyramids is to return to a silence deeper than any mystery, a silence that does not argue, does not prove, does not deny. It simply exists, as steady and unchanging as the horizon. In this quiet, we are reminded that the pyramids are more than puzzles to solve. They are experiences to behold. Standing at the base of the Great Pyramid, the enormity of its presence dissolves all abstract theories. The stones tower above, weathered yet enduring, their surfaces warmed by the sun and cooled by the desert night. Touching the limestone, even lightly, feels like touching time itself. Time made solid, time shaped by human intention. Each block carries the imprint of hands long gone, hands that carved, smoothed, lifted, and placed with care. The narrative of alien or divine intervention fades against the simple, powerful reality of human craftsmanship. Walking along the ancient pathways, one can almost feel the rhythm of thousands of footsteps that once echoed here. Workers moving in steady lines, supervisors calling out instructions, families visiting the sacred site, priests performing rituals beneath the open sky. The presence of human life lingers, soft but undeniable, embedded in every angle and shadow. The pyramids do not merely stand on history, they breathe it. Inside the chambers, the air grows cooler, stiller, as though time itself holds its breath. The passageways narrow, guiding you inward, toward spaces that once held the bodies of pharaohs and the hopes of entire civilizations. The granite walls seem impossibly smooth in places, rough and ancient in others. Light, when it appears, arrives softly, drifting across surfaces that have witnessed more years than we can comprehend. The silence in these chambers feels sacred, not because gods or visitors from distant stars once walked here, but because generations of human hands built these spaces with purpose, spiritual, architectural, symbolic. Kneeling near a wall, one might notice tool marks left behind, small grooves, chisel patterns, imperfections that reveal the humanity of the builders. These signs do not diminish the awe, they deepen it. They remind us that the pyramids were not conjured into existence by beings beyond this world. They were created through the determination of people who believed their work held meaning beyond their lifetimes. Outside again, as the sun begins to set, the pyramids shift in color, golden, then amber, then deepening into the blues of dusk. Their silhouettes sharpen against the sky, creating a quiet harmony between earth and heavens. This moment, timeless and gentle, explains more about the pyramids than any theory ever could. They were not built to spark debates. They were built to endure, to honor, to elevate the human spirit towards something greater. What the pyramids tell us, in their enduring presence, is that humans are capable of extraordinary things when united by purpose. We are architects of both stone and meaning. We build not only for ourselves, but for the future, for those who will stand where we once stood, wondering who we were and what we dreamed. In this return to the stones, the mystery transforms. It shifts from how were they built, or who built them, into something quieter, more profound. What does their existence reveal about us? The pyramids reflect human aspiration, resilience, creativity, and an unspoken desire to touch the eternal. They show us that wonder does not require alien intervention. It arises naturally from human hearts, human minds, and human hands reaching beyond the limitations of their age. As the night settles fully and stars emerge once more over Giza, the connection between earth and sky becomes gentle and seamless. The pyramids do not need to be messages from extraterrestrials to feel cosmic. They are cosmic because they invite us to contemplate our place in the universe. Their gaze lifts our own eyes upward. Their stillness invites our minds to dream. In their presence, we feel both small and significant, grounded and infinite. And so this section closes with a quiet truth. The pyramids speak most clearly when we stop trying to interpret them and simply listen. They remind us that some mysteries do not need to be solved. They only need to be experienced. And through that experience, we discover something timeless, not about aliens, but about ourselves.